Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Conscious Connections Radio with your hosts, Veronica Torres and Sue Trainer, sharing insights and explorations of the channeled teachings of Elohim and the Council. Call in and join the conversation, 909-202-8674. And now, here's Veronica.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. We're so thrilled to have you with us in this March day. It is a beautiful one here in Sonoma, a little overcast, but I'm sure that's going to burn off because, boy, was it nice yesterday. It was like 78 degrees in the middle of March. That's what we call some California weather. I will have just a quick announcement before we jump into the show today. Our Q&A with Elohim is this Sunday. Once a month, we have a question and answer session with Elohim where you submit questions by email and Elohim answers them live. It's very exciting. It's the third Sunday of every month at 1 p.m., the third Sunday of every month at 1 p.m. There's more information about this on our website, Eloheim.com. That's ELOHEIM.com. And I'll also put a link in the chat room in just a moment so that you guys can just click on it and be on your way to that. The other announcement is that our retreat with Elohim and the Council is coming up in September. And although, it's 6 months away, it doesn't feel like it at all because it's just so exciting. The early bird rate discount, which is $150 savings, expires on Saturday. So if you're looking to come to the retreat, all you need to do is put down your 25% deposit. That locks in the early bird rate for you, and you can pay off the rest in installments if you need to. You can pay in full. We appreciate that too. Very cool. The newest thing that we're doing is the Aura camera lady. You excited about that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other day I found an aura picture I had taken back in, I think it's 2004 or 2005. I mean, it's a while ago. And what happened is a lady came to the Wednesday night channeling session, and she wanted to do a picture of me with her aura camera before I channeled, while I was channeling, and after I was channeling. And I don't know much about aura photos, although they're cool. I've seen them lots of times, and I thought, well, this sounds fun. And she also took aura pictures of the people who were at the group, who came to the meeting. But the thing that was the big challenge is I had never walked or done anything while channeling before. That was the very first time I ever had to do it. So I stood up and I was trying to walk with my eyes closed because, of course, at that time I channeled with my eyes closed. So I was trying to walk, and I remember kind of stumbling through the room trying to get over to the aura camera. And then the way it works, not the way it works. I don't know how it works, but how you do it is there's this metal plate you put your hand on. And you put your hand on it, and then somehow that reads your energy, and it takes a picture of your energy. Whatever, it's all cool, but I don't know how it works. And when Elohim put their hand on it, because this is the first time I actually did anything with Elohim besides just sit there, they were like, whoa, they got all overstimulated like they can sometimes get when they do things like eat corn chips and the various other things we've asked them to do over the years. So I remember very clearly putting my hand on that, and it was kind of cool because it's just a metal plate, and Elohim going, whoa, and then they snapped the picture. So, I guess we'll hopefully get to do that again and see what difference it was. But the three pictures were very, very, very different. And the picture of me channeling, the before is sort of orangey green, and while I'm channeling, it's white and purple and a couple different shades of purple and white. And the brightest white is right by my right ear. And that didn't surprise me at all because that's where I feel Elohim come into my body when I'm channeling. So that made complete sense to me. So, and then afterwards, it's a more of a orangey green. So I was left with a residual change. So whatever it measures and however it works, it changed remarkably, and it made sense. So we're going to have an aura camera at the retreat as well, and who knows what kind of other good stuff we'll come up with in the next 6 months. So if you were interested in coming to our retreat or just want to learn more, it's Elohim.com eloheim.com/retreat for details. And we would love to have you add your energy to the powerful group of people that we have already assembled from places like United States,
yep.
Canada, Germany, the UK. I'm leaving someone off. I know I'm leaving someone in the Europe area off. Well, more UK people just signed up. Maybe Mexico. She's waiting to see her school schedule.
I'm drawing a blank as well.
Yeah, there's somebody else, though, huh? Well, anyway, they're coming from all over the place, and we're very, very excited about it. Again, that's eloheim.com/retreat if you want to get more information about that. And the early bird rate expires on the 16th of this month.
Which is Saturday.
Saturday. Yep. All right, so those are announcements. Let's get those out of the way and have those be gone. Today, we wanted to do a show where we talk about your favorite Elohim tools and your favorite Elohim concepts, whatever you really have gotten a lot out of from the Elohim material. So feel free to give us a call so you can contribute your thoughts. Our call number is 909-202-8674. And the groovy thing to do when you call a number is you push 1, and that puts you in the queue so I know that you want to talk to us. If you just want to use your phone to listen to the show live, which is a cool thing we learned about last month, you call the same number, but don't push 1. Just sit there, and you can hear the show. But if you want to talk to us, you push 1. Look at us, fancy knowing what to do, huh? All right. So, Miss Sue.
Well, I'm also wondering if you are up for having people call who don't know any of the tools and want to know if they have a situation and they want to know what tools might be good for them.
Yeah, we could probably roll with that. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll be adventurous.
Okay, good.
So it'll be Veronica's opinion, not Elohim's. I don't channel Elohim during this program. If you want to experience Elohim being channeled, you can do that lots of different ways, especially on Wednesday night. We have a live broadcast, which is at new.livestream.com/Elohim. That's on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. If you want to hear Elohim, that's a great place to do it. This show we spend talking more about our experience with the teachings rather than new teachings. And I'd love to see if I have insight about what tool would be good for a certain person's situation. Sure, that's a good idea. Yeah. So Sue and I were both reviewing Choice for Consciousness books. Choice for Consciousness is our series where I collect Elohim's tools and put them out in volumes because they have hundreds. I don't know if hundreds is the right number, but it's more than 100 of tools that they have given us over the years. And we collect those up and we put them in the Choice for Consciousness series. And the Choice for Consciousness series is really, it has a special place in my heart because it was the first series I did. The first book I ever did was Choice for Consciousness Volume 1. And since yesterday we published our 14th book, it's been a while, but it's still very dear and near to me. And it includes a bunch of tools that are sort of that breaking out of I am a victim. That's the purpose of Volume 1. I'm breaking out of I am a victim. And Volume 2 is like, okay, now I know I'm not a victim. What do I do next?
Yeah.
Volume 3, which I'm working on right now and hope to publish in the next few weeks, is about, okay, now my life is changing. How do I handle my life changing because I'm changing? There's a progression here, folks. There's a progression. So, Sue, tell me, what stood out for you when you were reviewing Choice for Consciousness Volume 1?
Well, actually what I did in this book was I went back and looked at some of the definitions of some of the tools and how, or some the definitions of some words.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so one of the things that I looked at, and just because for me, since I've moved to California and uprooted myself after 30 years of living in one place, it's brought up a lot of issues for me around safety and certainty. And I was looking at the definition for safety, and they talk about, safety is sought by looking for certainty, and certainty is a fallacy. And they say when you realize that the only true sense of true safety comes from a deep connection to your soul and moving moment to moment through clarity, you can let go of that need for certainty, which tied into a tool, which was I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything is really important for me around all sorts of matters related to living in California and related to, not working and a lot of things that are sort of triggering for me. I don't know anything really, if you can settle into it, allows a space for allowing.
Yeah.
It's because I have no sense of there's no real sense of direction for me at this point. So if I just say, well, I don't really know anything, and I just go to a place of, I'm sure there's another tool, but going to a place of trusting in that there are many possibilities out there, and sort of elevating myself to a place where I can connect with my soul, or allow the soul to connect with me in a way, instead of putting my own stamp on things and feeling like I have to know.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, Elohim talks a lot about the people who connect with Elohim are often big brain people who think all the time. And I've gone through many years of my life where I think great thoughts and things are really, I'm right on top of stuff. But since it's been 9 months now, I'm connecting more from a fear-based place. That move sort of catapulted me into, back into a victim place that I felt like I hadn't experienced in a long time.
It gave you another look at it.
Right. So working with I don't know anything, I think, is a valuable tool, and also I'm tempted to.
Yeah.
That I'm tempted to be fearful.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. I love how the I don't know anything tool starts out. The first paragraph. You really do not know anything, and this should please you. You don't know anything about this moment because you have never been in it before. You are brand new here. And I think that really speaks to what you just shared, in the sense that the move to California exacerbated that energy of you are brand new here. You can't hide from it. Right. Through habit or through ritual patterns of even going to the same job or the same grocery store or the same gas station. You can't hide from the truth of you are brand new here in every moment, because you are brand new here in every moment. Right. And we can sort of have that run underneath the surface by doing the same things every week, having this ritual, the same patterns in our flow of our daily life. So coming out here was like, okay, I just stripped away that coping mechanism, and now I don't know anything. And when we get into that place, I think it's really true that the survival instinct pops up and gets loud. Yeah. And says, hello, you don't know anything, you should be afraid. That's the equal sign. You don't know anything, you should be afraid. And I truly believe what Elohim is teaching us is you don't know anything, and this should please you, because then, like you said, it opens you up to the idea that there are infinite possibilities here. If you can get the survival instinct out of the way. If you can get the survival instinct out of the way. And that's why, boy, Elohim has done a lot of work with us on our survival instinct. And, here's just a really quick definition of the survival instinct, because I think it's really important to talk about terms. That's why all of our books have a glossary in them, so everybody can know exactly what Elohim means by specific terms. Survival instinct, a body-based dynamic that puts the continuation of life, not the continuation of happiness or enjoyment, right? That's the trick, the continuation of life, at the top of the list of importance. The survival instinct serves you deeply by continuing life even when physical, mental, or emotional experiences lead you to feeling as though you want your life to end. That's the I can't take it anymore. Right. And it's really easy to get to I can't take it anymore. I think we've all been there. I've been there. Yeah. Yeah. And the I can't take it anymore, the body goes, yeah, whatever. Going to keep breathing. Heart's going to keep pounding. We're going to keep going, which gives you a moment or 10 or 5 years or 20 years to kind of go, okay, there's another option here other than to just give up. And, not to
completely make this about my journey, but last night Elohim talked about, the choiceless choice, which was a new level that they've been talking about. And I think that I really experienced that in my decision to move here, where there was no choice in the matter. It was a choiceless choice.
Mm-hmm.
There was a vibration in my body that I could not ignore, and I needed to move.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it came about for a variety of reasons, but clearly one of which is to test a lot of assumptions of mine, about being a victim, about being a creator, about a lot of different things. And so being able to, if you can move out of the survival instinct and into a place of creatorship, then you can start really digging deeper into where you want to go or what you want to experience through fascination.
Yeah.
And I don't know if in this book, actually, there is a section in one of the books about, it's in the second book, about wow, not why.
Mm-hmm.
Just every time something, and it's different than another tool called why.
Yes, there are a lot of tools.
But the one that I was referring to, wow, not why, is just looking at your creations and especially ones that are difficult for you, and instead of saying, why, really being able to look at it and move into that, this trigger is mine kind of reality where you can say, oh, I get it. This is why, but through fascination, through exploring that question.
That idea of saying, wow, and I think a lot of Elohim tools start with a choice, and this is a good one. They say fear or fascination. Here's wow or why.
Right.
Like you can look at a situation, your car tire goes flat, and you can say, why me? Why now? Why is this happening? Which is all victim. Or you can say, wow, and it's that, wow, something more is here or this would not be happening. There's something for me here,
right.
I think is the underlying energy of there's something more here. What is the something more here? What is it that is here?
This is happening for me. And
that's a good one. That this is happening for me, it's not this is happening to me, this is happening for me. What is the more here? And all of those things require a choice. They require a choice, and that's why, coincidentally, the book's called The Choice for Consciousness.
Right.
We could have called it Consciousness Studies or something else, but Elohim was really clear in the beginning, especially when we were doing these books, is it's a choice. It's a choice. And that's where habit and habitual patterns, and my life's the same all the time, really trap you, because you can start to feel like it's not a choice. It's not a choice whether or not I go to this gas station. That's the gas station I always go to. So you stop realizing it's a choice. And then you move out to California and you're like, I have to choose what gas station to go to.
Right.
And you multiply that times 300,000, because every little thing is a different choice. Where you put your toothbrush,
right.
Where you put your bed. Everything becomes a choice. It magnifies that fact of I'm choosing all the time. I'm choosing all the time. I'm choosing all the time.
Right.
If you would like to join the conversation, we'd sure love to talk to you. Give us a call, 909-202-8674, and press the 1 button. You can also Skype us. Somewhere on that page you're looking at right now, there's a Skype button. Push that, and we're on Skype right now, so it works really well. Skype works really well. 909-202-8674.
What's your favorite tool?
Oh, my favorite tool? Wow. The one I probably use the most is I'm tempted to. You mentioned it earlier. We haven't talked about it yet. That idea of when you feel like life is just happening to you, to be able to stop that habitual brain pattern of thought and say, I'm tempted to think this right now. And you just put in, I'm tempted to, 3 words. You just stick 3 words in front of whatever emotion, thought you're having. And it requires you to use a different part of your brain. It requires you to have that little breath. It always reminds me of when they do anger management and they tell the people to count to 10 before they react. And it's usually done in a humorous way on TV, and they're like counting, but they're still really mad. It's like that sort of a thing, but it actually works. It works really well for me because I find myself getting into, I can be really sensitive around what people think about what I'm up to. And then if I make an assumption about that, that's just suffering. So finding myself going, I'm tempted to think this person, then it gives me an observer's role on it rather than an experiencing role of it. And just those 3 words have changed my life. That one's really loud. That one has really helped me. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Do you have a favorite? We know which ones you've been focusing on, but do you have one that you've used a lot over the years?
The one that I talked about before was the notebook tool.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I've used it over the years. And it's, I think it's my soul whispering to me every now and then that's like, stop thinking that thought and let's go to the notebook tool.
Talk more about what the notebook tool is all about.
So the notebook tool is gets you out of habitual thinking. So if you have been obsessively thinking about something and you notice you go around and around in circles on it, the way I use it is I write down the time that I've thought the thought, and then I say what is true now, which is the thing that's going to try to break that cycle of the thought, but it also just brings me into the moment.
Yeah.
And so I can say what is true now? Well, it's sunny out. What is true now? I have my clogs on. And then I can try to go about my business, but what will happen is another minute later, another obsessive thought, something I've thought 3 or 4 times already will come back. So I write down the time again. And as I mentioned in another show, I did this, and it very quickly, it went from, I stopped an obsessive pattern of mine within 20 minutes of doing this. And it just, first of all, it's so glaring when you start writing down what that thought is and the time that you've thought it. It's
can't get away from
glaring.
it.
Yeah. And the problem for me is just really having that discipline to move away from familiar suffering and from obsessive thinking, because my brain, again, just wants to keep me there and say, well, we'll figure it out this time, and it doesn't work.
It's amazing how the brain, the survival instinct, whatever you want to attribute it to, will tell you that thought you've thought 1,000 times, the 1,001st time you think it, you're going to feel better. Right. And that's where the I'm tempted to thing has really helped me, because I'll find myself on the brink of thinking, feeling something I know I've thought and felt before. And I can actually feel myself going, this time it'll work. This time it'll give me the answer. What is he thinking? What is she doing? What are they going to say in response to my proposal? As if that's going to have any bearing. And you can say, well, energetically it does. Yeah, it has a bad energetic bearing in the sense that it tells you, all it does is put more worry energy into the situation. So I'm tempted to wonder what they're going to say. And I've been able to back it off with the I'm tempted tool, but the notebook tool is really good also to kind of slap you in the face a little and say, look, you've literally thought that thought 14 times in the last 7 minutes because you wrote down the times.
Right.
And it can sort of be a shock to your system.
Right.
When I was much, much, much younger, I was walking at lunchtime with a friend of mine and talking about boys. And she said, I'm your friend and I love you, but you've told me this story every day for a month. And I had no recollection that I had, simply because it was real to me in that moment again. And when she said that to me, I broke up with the guy the next day because I was like, oh, okay, that's the notebook tool.
Yeah.
The version that's kind of embarrassing. Yeah.
And if also, occasionally what it's done for me is I don't even necessarily say what is true. I'll just say, I got to get out and go for a walk, because that's going to take my mind. That's the biggest what is true now for me. It's just like, get me away from here, because here is not a good place. Here in my mind is not a good place.
away from here.
I can count those dollars in the bank one more time, and the number's going to be the same.
That's a really perfect example, right? Because I know my online banking, unless I go down and make a deposit or withdrawal, it updates once a day as to all the automatic payments that happen and stuff. So it would be like logging into my online banking again and expecting a different result. That's actually an extremely good example. I'm going to log into my online banking and see what my number is. And it's, here's the number, X. And I'm going to log in again 5 minutes later and see if it's Oh, God, that's cracking me up. That made it settle into me really, really strongly. Now I know what my comment's going to be when I write up the notebook tool for the next book. We're working on the books while we're doing the radio show. Multitasking, overachieving light worker. Oh, that's a good one.
Well, so how do we stop being overachieving light workers? Like, I want to take a break.
Yeah.
Can I?
You can. Absolutely. You can take a break, but you can't get away from. You can't get away from this desire for consciousness. And if there's anything that's a choiceless choice, it's that, right? You cannot get away from the desire for consciousness. So it goes wherever you go. Elohim likes to say, it doesn't matter if you're at the beach or the ocean, that's the same place, the beach or the mountains, there you go. When you look in the mirror, no matter what hotel room you're in, when you look in the mirror, you may see a different show behind you, but in the mirror is you. So you can take a break, but you can't stop. Why do you think we watch movies and TV shows? I don't have an answer for that, how you take a break, other than compare you to you, which is probably one of the best Elohim tools ever, because that's the only place within me I feel like I get a break, is when I compare, just like we just told the story about the ex-boyfriend, I look at that and laugh, and that tells me I've made progress. And that is me giving myself a break, because I know it's not the same obsessive problem. It's a different obsessive problem. Progress! Right. And, Elohim has the best example of this that makes complete sense, is the idea that as light workers, as people on our spiritual path, or even just on a personal development path, it's like lifting a barbell with 100 pounds on it. As soon as that gets the slightest bit easy, we put more weight on because we want to build those muscles. And in the personal development path, it looks like I want to build that muscle of having a different response to triggers, not having obsessive thinking, not being in fear. Okay? And then you do something like start a radio show. New fears, new things to obsessively think about, new things to trigger you. I've said it, if I could rest on my laurels, I'd be fine. And it doesn't come from an ego place to keep going. It comes from a choiceless choice, like Elohim talked about last night. I can't choose away from. Right. I can't choose away from. It just is my inner drive to be. Right. Just like taking a breath. All right, folks, it's your turn. Get on the phone. Give us a call. Tell us about your favorite tool, 909-202-8674. Press the number 1, 909-202-8674. 8674. Call in during the song and get in the queue, and we'll talk to you when we come back. We're going to play a song here from my favorite band, a local band called 10 Foot Tone, and here it comes. It's called Rays of Light. This is for you. Get on the queue, 909-202-8674.
Rays of light cutting into my dream, altering everything once again. I saw you there, I could almost reach you, but the moment changed everything. Once again, the moment changes everything. The morning changes everything. The moment changes everything. The morning changes everything again. And I heard you had a difficult day. You couldn't make your mind up, girl. You didn't know who to go play with. Or maybe, baby, you just didn't want to play. When the days get older as you get younger in the sun. Don't turn the light out on the world. We're never gonna be the only one. The moment changes everything. The moment changes everything. The morning changes everything. The moment changes everything again. It's not a could have, would have, or should have. It's not a could have or would have or should have. The only difference between the have and the have-not is more than what they got. It's not a could have, would have, or a should have. It's not a could have, would have, or a should have. The only difference between the have and the have-not is more than what they got. And the moment changes everything. The moment changes everything. The morning changes everything. The moment changes everything again. Rays of light cutting into my dream, altering everything once again.
Ah, I love it when John sings me a song. Sorry for the periodic in the song. We have no idea why Blog Talk eats some of the songs. They just tend to. But I just let it play because it's too pretty, and most of it was the way it's supposed to sound. We have a caller on the line. Let's take a call right now. Okay. There we go. Hello, caller. Thanks for joining us.
Is that me?
It's you.
Wow, this is rather unexpected.
You didn't expect to be on the you didn't expect to be on the radio with us when you called into the radio program, Mary George?
Well, I just called and it just immediately, there was only seconds involved there.
Well, it's perfect timing. That's what that's called. Look at you, manifester. Yeah. All right, so today we're talking about our favorite Elohim tools. What's your favorite Elohim tool?
Oh, gosh. It could possibly be neutral observation.
Tell us about that.
Well, I have a couple of habits that kind of core to my being, making a judgment about things and thinking too much. So neutral observation is perfect way for me to just observe, what's going on without thinking and making judgments and all the rest of that. And from that, I guess from the neutral observation, then, with the quiet mind, then I have a possibility of receiving insight.
And you've been using that one for a while. Have you had your experience of using it change over the years?
I suppose it just become more second nature, more natural, without having to sort of consciously think, about neutrally observing.
Yeah, it becomes more like a healthy habit.
Yeah.
Right. And then you catch yourself neutrally observing, right? That happens to me. I'm like, oh, my God, I neutrally observed that triggery thing. Watch me go.
Well, it's so funny. That's where you have to, do the step-by-step thing and sort of realize that you've been neutrally observing, possibly not in the moment. That's what you're neutrally observing about neutrally observing. That's kind of a MC Escher thing.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I am neutrally observing my neutral observation. Check me out. Give me a pat on the back. Go team and all that. Cool. Yeah, neutral observation's a good one. It's sort of a foundational tool to be in the situation where you say, instead of we were talking earlier, instead of choosing out of or choosing into habit, I'm going to choose into a new pattern. And if I can't be conscious, if I can't think of a new thing to do, I can at least be neutral in my observation, set aside my judgments, and experience this right now as openly as possible, meaning with a lot of possibilities being present rather than narrow focus.
Well, in this Choice for Consciousness 1, it says, when you can stay neutral, you can feel the fear, but say, I'm just going to see it. I'm not going to let the feeling of the fear tell me what to do next. I'm going to let neutral observation and insight from my soul reveal what's going to happen next. And every time that fear stirs up in me, I'm going to make another choice for insight. I'm going to make another choice just to watch it rather than let it drive the experience I'm in, which is really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I just sit in the fear, it's just an interesting sensation without, gigantic stories or anything going with it. It's just, for some reason, it just really unplugs the fear. It's just a feeling.
Well, then in this book it says, and that, of course, takes a little bit of practice, but those neural pathways will lay down very quickly because it's a high vibrational activity and because it actually leads to so much relief of the body's tension. So it's funny you mentioned that about the physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
Which means, it's working! It's working!
Right. You don't want to... There's a difference between Elohim teachings and other things.
You're getting quiet, Mary. Can you talk louder?
Oh. That to me is one of the big differences between Elohim teachings and other things. You don't try and push the feeling away. You just go ahead and feel that feeling of fear. And then, the astonishing thing is how quickly it'll sort of dissipate and, at the very least, not feel overwhelming. It's just an interesting feeling.
Yes.
Rather than trying to suppress it and change it with the other sort of, airy-fairy wishful thinking.
Yes.
And further in the book it says, watching the fear, knowing it's an option, not a mandate, and choose again to see it rather than be it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Check that out. This is actually really good. When I had the idea for this show, I thought it would be a fun show, but I didn't realize how much rereading the actual words of the tools and talking about them in their very specific ways, how much it would change kind of how I feel about them inside my body. I'm really having an experience over here. I'm having an experience. Well, Mary George, thanks for contributing to the show and for all that you do. We really appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Have yourself a fine day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, caller from the 919. How are you today? Thanks for being on the show.
Hi, thanks. Hello, girls.
Hey,
it's Carrie.
Carrie, doesn't it?
So to answer your question, what my favorite tool is, I wanted, at first I thought it's what is true now.
Yeah.
And then I think that's the one that I'm still consciously choosing. But there is this one that, like Mary said, kind of become a habit where it's just kind of the way I just kind of translate what's happening to me automatically. I'm just I pick up is this is happening for me. And that happens a lot for me, and that's the biggest one, I think, in how much it changes how I'm feeling in the moment about the situation. And it kind of takes me into a kind of a journey with it, rather than sitting there and having my normal reactions, or sitting with the story that I'm in about the situation. It usually takes me into this kind of a mystery thing where I'm okay, so if this is happening for me, it kind of presents a little bit of energy to be okay, how could this be happening? Why would this be happening for me? And then it puts me into a different mode rather than, oh, this is happening to me, kind of more negative thing. It shoots me into more of a positive place, and then from there, I feel more empowered, I guess, because I'm finding something, and a lot of it is more of a thinking thing, which I thought, well, maybe I don't want to be too much in the thinking aspect. But what happens for me is that the feeling of feeling empowered just kind of takes over. And then even if I can't figure out, okay, I wonder why this is happening for me, I automatically just feel better. And that, just like what Mary was saying even earlier about how, or you were saying how you just feel a difference in your body about it. And so I would have to say that one's kind of my big one that I use a lot, but not consciously choosing it. It's just automatically a part of how I kind of translate while things are happening to me throughout my day. Kind of like changing my lens kind of on the world, I guess. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So can you use that when you're in the middle of a situation with someone? Or do you have to step away from the situation and use it?
I find that I'm more of after the fact. I'm still really, I get really, I guess I'm really sensitive. I'm really sensitive to the situation. I usually go through a journey with it kind of after I'm done talking to somebody usually. But most of my stuff happens to me not really in talking with somebody else, more like it's more of a battle with my own self, kind of. Yeah. So I use it there too. And the What is True Now, though, is fantastic as well. And I consciously am choosing that one a lot. Like when I'm seeking for something, I'm like, okay, what is true now? And that one helps me. I've kind of morphed it a little bit into my own flavor, where I say instead, what am I choosing right now? And I kind of do that version of it.
And how does that difference work inside you? What does that give you differently?
It makes me, it kind of makes me realize that I am choosing what is happening. So it's kind of reiterating that, but at the same time saying, okay, well, I definitely don't want to choose that. This is what I'd rather choose. And then kind of propels me into a different place with it.
Ooh, look at you go.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a totally good one.
I like hearing Sue reread it, though. That's fantastic. It's been a while since I've actually read the one Mary was talking about, because I haven't sat and read with the tools in a while. This is a really great show to listen to. It's great to get that reminder, because, I practice it, and I kind of have my automatic kind of summing down of the tool, and so it's so great to hear the words with it again. It really does feel different.
You know, when I write the books, might be fun for people to know. The process I go through when I write the books, like right now, I'm doing Choice for Consciousness 3. So I look at my list of tools that Elohim has introduced, and I feel into the energy of the tools, and I put them in groups as to their underlying energetic, what they're up to. And like we said earlier, Choice for Consciousness 3 is going to be all about the idea that, okay, my life is starting to change. How do I deal with the fact that my life is changing? And once I've felt into the tools and I decide which ones go together, then I search these Uber transcripts is what we have that Sue's been typing since what year? Do you remember when you started?
It's been at least 4 years.
Yeah. So we have millions, and that's not an exaggeration, millions of words that Elohim has said in these gigantic Word docs. And so I'll put the name of a tool into the Word doc, and I'll get all the instances that tool has been discussed. And I copy-paste all that out into another Word doc, and then I sit down and I sort of half-channel Elohim in a very quiet way, and I get my red pen out and I cross off the stuff we don't need. Then I take all the stuff that we have left over. This requires printing things out. and I start to feel into the energy of all of the words. And so when Sue read it earlier, I noticed, I was like, wow. I was really strongly feeling the energy associated with the words and recalling how those words are actually really carefully chosen. Even the way Elohim says them is very carefully chosen, and then how I condense pages of stuff into something that fits to a book. And sometimes I have to tweak it a little because the way you say things isn't how you write things. So each of those words is really energetically contemplated, maybe is a good word for it. And when you read it out loud, you can feel it. And that's what this show's giving me, too, is like, wow, look at that. There's an energetic solidity to not only the information, but the way it comes, the way it's presented. So I'm glad you could feel that, because I was feeling it. And I put a lot of attention into it. Like when I did the Warrior book, I mean, oh my goodness. I printed the whole thing out, and then I worked on it, and I made changes, and I printed it out and worked on it and made changes, and printed it out and worked on it and made changes. It took it took a big chunk of the summer. I did it in the hammock. And I used up an entire red pen. Not changing what he said as much as making what he said make sense on paper. Because so much of what they say it has body language, especially with the Warrior, body language and an energetic component to it. Elohim will say something and go, yeah, you know what we mean? And that's supposed to actually convey something. Well, it does when you're in person or listening. But when you're reading it, it's like, yeah, you know what we mean? Probably not.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. I can't wait to dive into the Warrior book. I did purchase the Warrior book, and I haven't. I'm still going through the Discovering You book that I haven't. I can just, like you said, I can reread it, and I'm like, okay, I got something different from it that time. And then you reread it, and
I've read the Warrior book. Like I told you, I printed it out, laid in the hammock, printed out, laid in the hammock. I mean, if I showed you the stack that's the Warrior book of printouts, you'd crack up. Every time I look at that book, there's something in there I didn't remember was in there. And I've read it 18 times at least, plus I channeled it to begin with. Because energetically, different stuff shows itself with different focus. I don't know. I really don't understand it. I just go, understanding's overrated, and I don't try to figure it out. Because it's not an understandable thing, but it's true nonetheless.
I always felt like it's because I was like a different person, like in the next time that I picked it up, because I kind of integrated what I'm reading, and as things are happening to me, throughout my days and weeks, and I'm changing, and then I have a different viewpoint of the world and stuff, and then I read it again, and so it just kind of hits me in a different way. That's kind of always what I thought, so I love rereading it, because it's like, okay, how do I feel about it now? It's really, really cool. Yeah,
that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I'm glad it happens to somebody other than just me. Sometimes these things happen to me, and I think, it just happens to me. But it's nice to hear that it's happening to other people, because then that means it's not just because I'm connected to Elohim that I have these powerful energetic experiences. It's because the material offers those energetic experiences.
Yeah. Well, and I think what Carrie was saying, though, is like each time she reads it, she's getting it from a deeper level because she's moving through it within herself as well.
Exactly. You're a different person, so you're available to the material in a different way. Yeah. There's a lot of layers to what we're doing, isn't there?
Yeah.
For sure. Well, Miss Carrie, thank you so much for calling in. It's sure great to hear your voice.
Thank you, and I look forward to listening to the show again. I can't wait to hear what else Sue starts reading and people start talking about.
Let's see what Sue's going to read next. Okay, thanks, Carrie.
Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to contribute to the conversation, you just need to call 909-202-8674. We're discussing the tools for personal development and spiritual transformation that Elohim and the Council offer. You can learn a lot about Elohim and the Council on our website, Eloheim.com. That's ELOHEIM.com. And I'm here with Sue Trainer. And what else you got in there? What do you like about that? She's looking at the Choice for Consciousness 1 book right now.
Well, I had a favorite tool, but I was going to talk about. But there's also this little section under terms that under the word courage, which I really loved because I think all of us need to know what courage really is, and we need to feel it. I'm tired. I have that weary confidence. Anyway, courage, awareness of the temptation to fear and other types of static, but making the choice to act from consciousness instead. I think that's really sweet.
Yeah. You're in that choosy energy today. You keep bringing up things that are about choosing. You are in weary confidence.
I'm
confident that the spiritual journey helps me, but I want to break from it, is what you said earlier. And
tired.
I have to keep reminding myself to choose.
The victim place is really no fun, but yeah.
It's reaching out its tentacles towards you.
Yeah. And then the other one is a definition for change, of course, the recognition of an altered condition in the incarnation, which, if processed habitually, often triggers fear. When processed consciously, change becomes the mechanism for growth.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
I mean, I know my name's on the front of the book, but I'm still allowed to be impressed, right? I'm impressed by my book. Because really, they're Elohim's books, and I'm just, along for the ride. Well, that's not actually true, but I'm still impressed because, like I said earlier, every time I get into the material, I get something out of it for Veronica that I didn't get before. Right. And that's very succinct. That's well said. I'm cracking myself up here.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about a tool that I really like. Yeah? I think I'll let you. Okay, good. Wow, check it out. I was just going to one in the book and I passed by another. Let's do the other one first because it jumped out at me. See, look at me listening to Insight. Shovel or ladder?
Yeah.
The choice for consciousness is challenging, but habitual response is a pit of pain. You get a shovel or a ladder. It's your choice to dig yourself in deeper or to climb up the ladder and out of the pit. The shovel is repeating habit. It's you not being willing to say, what the hell is going on here inside me? Not with him, not with her, not with the boss, not with the kids, not with the bank, not with the credit card statement, but within me. Am I going to dig myself in deeper, or am I going to climb up the ladder? And this one has always really sunk into me because I can just imagine. This one actually makes me kind of emotional. Because if you imagine you're down in a pit, I always imagine it like a well, with the round circle at the top. And I always feel like I'm down there and my temptation is to dig deeper because I'm in fear, habit, trigger, they don't like me, whatever my latest version is. And then, I look up and Elohim, who I don't have a visual for, but when I look up, I see Elohim in the light. Because I'm in the dark of the well, and I look up, and there's the sky, and Elohim's looking over, lowering a ladder down to me so I can climb out. And the ladder, of course, is all these tools we've been talking about. The ladder says, here's some options. Here's another way. Here, try this other thing. And just like if you were really down in a pit, climbing up a ladder requires an exertion that standing there and suffering doesn't.
Right.
That whole thing of, it's not going to be necessarily easy, but I know if I was in a pit and I took the exertion to climb up a ladder to get out, I'm going to be happier out of the pit than in, almost in all cases that I can imagine. And that is really liberating to imagine that. And there's just something about feeling that sense of isolation and loneliness and darkness and confusion and going, there must be another choice than to keep looking down and digging and to look up and have a ladder lowered to you. That has always been really visceral for me, and it makes me really feel comforted. Yeah, that one makes me emotional. I'm not going to cry on the radio show, though. I'm not in the mood for crying today. Maybe later, though, when I think about it again. Okay, so here's the one that I was going to talk about. The Mad Scientist. I love the Mad Scientist. This is so fun. And Elohim gets all gleeful when we talk about the Mad Scientist on private sessions. The Mad Scientist, is it in the other book? I was just looking for it. Maybe that's why I didn't find that one when I first went through. Yeah, it's in book 2, I think. So the Mad Scientist is all it's all about the idea that people will call up, especially during private sessions with Elohim, and they'll say, I really, 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 really need to, get out of this situation I'm in. I've got to quit this job. I've got to get out of this relationship. I've got to get out of it. And usually it's because people wait a really long time before they seek to change. They have to be unbearably familiar suffering. And Elohim will say, hang on a minute. Just hold on. And let's just use the example of the job because it's the easiest one. Just hold a minute. If you go to another job right now, you're going to take you with you. Plus, you're going to have to learn a new job and learn a new computer system and have a new commute. And like you talked about when you moved to California, there's going to be so many more things potentially triggering you, confusing you, and stressing you out. Plus, you're trying to become this new person at this new job. Let's just do a little Mad Scientist experiment and become the new person in the current situation. Do something today in this job that you would do if it was a brand new job, thinking that, I'll have a fresh start and I'll do all my consciousness tools at my new job. Do it at your current job and see what happens. And people get this. They go, that might be a good idea, rather than all that other stress. Try one thing new rather than a million things new simultaneously. This is how Elohim phrased it in the book, Choice for Consciousness 2. If you're in a situation that you're unhappy with, rather than leave the situation, experiment within the situation. When you start to make changes, you're the only thing that's changing. It makes it so much easier to see the dynamic play out. That's part that I forgot, is then you can actually see the ripples of your change more easily. Right. If you've worked with someone for 30 years and all of a sudden they start acting different after you make a different choice within you, that's going to stand out. Whether a brand new coworker, you don't know how they act, so you don't know if your change is actually affecting your external circumstances. Right. Did you do any Mad Scientist stuff at your old job where you were kind of... No, but I was just thinking of an old one that I did. I mean, where I had to get hypnotized once. I know I needed an external help with this, but I got hypnotized once because this woman that I worked right next to just bugged me. She was awful to people, and it was so upsetting to me how awful she was to people. So I was hypnotized, and they put up like this brick wall between me and that person with a little window that I could open whenever I needed to talk to her, and then I could shut the window, and I wouldn't be bothered by her at all. And this woman who I'd worked right next to for 3 years, she left like a month later. She quit the job. So, yeah, it works. I didn't realize it until, I knew it worked, but... Yeah, I Mad Scientisted. Exactly. With a hypnotist. Yeah. Getting a little help? Yeah, she totally left for some bizarre reason. It was great. So, yeah, that ripple was quite nice. That was a good one. Well, let's take a teeny break and hear another song. And if you would like to contribute to the conversation, we've got about a half an hour left in the program, and we'd love to hear from you. So you dial 202-8674. Press the number 1 and hang on. You'll be in the queue to talk to us. 909-202-8674. Here's 10 Foot Tone again, and they're going to sing Ever After for us.
Against the backdrop of useless chatter, let me take you tonight into ever after. Here I go. Tomorrow's not here, but you know that it matters. Let me kiss your smile and taste your laughter. Here I go. Loving you. There I go. Loving you again, loving you again, loving you again. No. Loving you. Stealing the moments of our future. Baby, let me take your hand. I'll never run away. I'll never go away. I'll never say I'm not in love. There I go again, loving you again, loving you again, loving you again. No, I won't stop. No, I can't stop. Loving you. I'll give you my love and I hope you can't take it. All of my love and I hope you don't break it. I want to spend all my time with you. Loving you. Loving you again, again, again. No, I won't stop. No, I can't stop. La la. Loving you. Against the backdrop of useless chatter, let me take you tonight into ever after. Here I go. loving you. There I go, loving you again, loving you again, loving you again.
All right, we're back. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. It's Sue and Veronica talking about Elohim and the Council's tools for consciousness, spiritual development, personal growth. They don't wash the dishes or do the laundry, but other than that, they're pretty darn fine for just about anything that ails you. You can always learn more about these tools and the others that we have in all of our other books. We have 14 books now. Just published one yesterday, Birth of the Council 5. That was very exciting. On our website, Eloheim.com, ELOHEIM.com. The books are available on Amazon.com. If you just search for Elohim and the Council, or for me, Veronica Torres, you will find all of them. Lots of them are available in ebook and paperback. Some of them are only in ebook right now. I haven't gotten to the point of putting them all into paperback. That's an extra big job. And I've got 2 more that are nearly done. I've got a book about money and Choice for Consciousness 3, which will continue the series that we've been discussing primarily during the show today. All right, Sue, what have you found?
How ridiculous does it have to get?
Oh, yeah. How ridiculous does it have to get? This is such a good one. Go ahead.
How much suffering must you experience? How ridiculous does it have to get before you're willing to change a habit? How many times do you have to experience the same patterns? The answer is usually pretty damn ridiculous. Anyway, you're constantly putting up barrier after barrier after barrier to taking responsibility for your creation because the habit of victimhood is so strong in you. Sure, the choice for consciousness is challenging, but suffering is painful and repetitive. Owning, I did this, might be hard, but what is the alternative? Don't require it to become ridiculous before you're willing to transform it.
This tool is been around a long time in the teaching. And probably out of all of the tools, I hate making these general statements, but I'll tell you, people say that tool to me more than any other that I can think of, maybe until we got to like I'm tempted to. Because especially in the beginning, when you're first on your spiritual journey and you're still kind of in the victimhood pattern, stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
Things get crazy. Right, like you said at work, this person driving me crazy for 3 years, right? Now, you'd never put up for 3 years of driving you crazy because you know how ridiculous does it have to get. It'll keep getting more and more ridiculous. It's like the volume on your radio, and it just keeps turning up until you reach out and say no.
Right.
That pressure of more and more and more and more attention on a pressure cooker situation. And I've had people say to me, oh, my God, how ridiculous does it have to get before I change? More, I think, than almost anything else. It's visceral in that way. And when something crazy happens, people will say more often than anything, oh, my God, am I in a how ridiculous does it have to get place? And it, like, makes them look around. It almost is accompanied by, am I looking around? Am I in a how ridiculous does it have to get moment? So yeah, this is a tool that really sunk in with people. I think because it just is so real how we experience.
And it's amazing how you can go along for a long time, and then all of a sudden you get hit over the head with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that slow, ingrown toenail. Starts out just hurting a little. And it gets worse and worse and worse.
You're so funny. Oh, my God.
I don't know where that came from.
It's perfect, though. It came because it's the right energetic, that's for sure. All right, folks, we have 20 minutes left. If you want to join the conversation, we'd love to talk to you. The call-in number is 909-202-8674. When you call in, press the number 1 so that we know you want to talk to us. 909-202-8674.
I was just reading under Choose and Choose again.
Yeah.
Habit is very strong. The survival instinct runs very deep. Cultural and DNA pressures are intense. Your choice to grow spiritually requires spiritual discipline and persistence. It's an act of committing and recommitting to the journey. Remember, fear is a choice, not a mandate.
I love that. Fear is a choice, not a mandate. Because when we're in fear, when I've been in fear, when I've observed other people in fear, it doesn't feel like it's a choice.
Right.
You have to teach yourself that it's a choice. That's one of the main things you have to teach yourself. This fear is a choice. This fear is a choice. This fear is a choice. And Elohim will say, people say, I didn't have a choice. I just automatically felt fear. And they're like, there was a choice. It was just really, really brief. And habit is really, really strongly ingrained in you. And it's going to run over your awareness of a choice very easily if you don't teach yourself, like Mary talked about, neutral observation, teach yourself to slow down that process of going into habitual response. For sure. I think a lot of what goes on with the Elohim work is like slowing down those automated things so that you can insert choices in there. Because it'll just happen the way it's always happened until something changes. That's the nature of things. You know, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. It's the nature of things. And making those decisions to say, I know where that road leads, and I don't want to go there again.
Right.
I just don't want to go there again. Therefore, I have to make a choice. If I don't want to go there again, I've got to get on another road. And a lot of spiritual teachings say, you know, just be in love, just be in light, just, you know, don't be in fear. And it's like, for me and for a lot of people I know, the idea of saying, just don't be afraid is really useless.
Right.
Like, if I knew how to do that, I would have done that when I was 20.
Right.
Now that I'm 44 and I've had 20 more years of habit, it's even more useless to me to hear, just choose love. And sometimes when I see that, you know, especially like on Facebook or something, I'll see these little graphs people put up, just graphics say, just choose love. And it's like, it makes me feel worse. I get no comfort. I actually feel worse. It's like, just choose love. Okay. I will, but I don't know how, so now I suck. And then it's so easy to go into being mean to yourself because somebody puts out this lofty spiritual ideal without giving you any steps to get to it. And of all the comments I've gotten about the Elohim work in the last 10 years, that's the number one comment I get is, yeah, a lot of teachers talk about things that I would like to be experiencing. Elohim's the one who gives you step-by-step guidance of how to get there.
Right.
And that's what I was ready for. The ideas sank in. Now the step-by-step guidance is what I needed. And they just keep at it, you know? They just keep at it. We get more and more and more. And I guess that tells us we have to talk about don't be mean to yourself, right?
Right.
Elohim said, I don't know, it's probably in one of these books. You want to read it to us? Elohim said they only have one rule. In all the years I've worked with them, they've continually said, I have one rule. It's the first tool in the first book, in fact. Don't be mean to yourself. Don't be mean to yourself.
It's right before I don't know anything.
And they've never changed that. We only have one rule. They've never said, oh, well, now we've got two. All the suggestions they've made, this is the only rule. All right, Sue, give it to us.
Well, it's lumped in with the 4-year-old child one.
Yeah.
It's interesting, yeah. If there's something you genuinely want to change about yourself, you don't have to be mean to yourself in order to change it. Take a moment and let that sink in. You don't have to be mean to yourself to change. You don't berate a child about learning to walk or talk or write. You say, hey, it's okay, let's try it again. Yet you will be extremely critical of yourself at nearly any opportunity. So here is our first tool for this volume. Don't be mean to yourself. How do you know if you're being mean to yourself? If you're talking to yourself in a voice that you wouldn't use with a 4-year-old child, especially somebody else's 4-year-old child, you're being mean to yourself. When you find yourself being hard on you, simply ask yourself, would I say this to a preschooler? No, you would not. It's okay to have a new plan or to desire something be different in the future or to reevaluate how you handled a situation. That's all growth. But beating yourself up is so contrary to everything we teach that we've made it our only rule. You don't get to be mean to yourself. Oh, and be aware that someday soon we're going to evolve this tool. Someday soon we're going to lower the age. It will be you can't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to a toddler or an infant.
Yeah, they laid it down right off the bat. First tool, first book.
The funny thing is how subversive it still is. All of a sudden I'll realize it's so deep. It was so deep that I didn't even hear it.
The being mean to yourself?
Yeah. The critical, something critical being said. And it'll often come up in a dream. It'll be like, oh, wow, I am saying that to myself. I'm not even sure I can give you an example. It might just be a sentence I hear. I'm not really sure. But I'll just find that it was so deep that I just couldn't even hear it. And I think a lot of it has to do with sort of, pushing yourself to, for me, pushing myself to be okay about where I am. I think that's a form of being mean, of not recognizing the challenges associated and just wanting to just get used to it, get over it, get used to it. Be here now. It's that be here now. That's that's
that
a rough
look on
one.
Your face was classic. That made me wish we were doing VO. You're like, woof.
Yowzer.
Get over it.
Be here now. Like in a really mean voice, though. Instead of like a 4-year-old might cry, but the grown-up me is like, get over it. It's interesting. But because I didn't really hear it, until.
Yeah. Get over it. As if, right? There's no solution there. One of the things Elohim's been using as an example, when I do the private sessions with Elohim, I look out the window, and there's these nice trees outside in my yard, and Elohim was kind of checking them out the other day, and they said, it's like a tree. When you go up the trunk of a tree and you go off onto the branch, let's say that's on the left side, and you're in a habit or a fear or a trigger, you don't say, I need the opposite of this. Like you're saying, get over it. Right. I feel bad, get over it. That's like the opposite, right? The opposite of that energy. Like the opposite doesn't get the job done. You've tried the opposite because you haven't known any other option. Duality-based living tends to extract duality-based answers.
Right.
And so what they were saying is you go up the trunk of the tree and you go to a completely different branch. But when we look for the solutions to our problems in the opposite of our problems, the answer's not there. We're all creative and clever and smart enough to have found it if that was where the answer lays.
Right.
It doesn't. It's on a completely different branch. And a lot of times when we're doing core emotion sessions, that's really apparent. Elohim will say your unhealed core emotion is not the opposite to your healed core emotion. It's a completely different way of interacting with the stimulus. And that's what these books that we've been talking about during today's show do, is they give you tools for looking at it a brand new way. Like the Mad Scientist is a good example of that. Some of the tools are for catching yourself, like don't be mean to yourself, and realizing, whoa, I've been doing that. And then there's tools for changing what you find when you realize that.
Right.
And that's not opposite. That became really loud for me lately. It's like, it's not the opposite. I'm not looking for the opposite. I'm looking for a brand new way. Something about that has been getting richer and richer for me. And your story just made it really real for me. It's like, be here now is not the answer to, I can't handle this. Right. That's not the answer.
Be in the moment.
Yeah. And for you, the answer, like you said earlier, is go on a walk or something completely other than.
Right.
A thinking problem doesn't usually have a thinking answer. I wonder if that's true. Just came to me. Like if it's in your mind and it's a hamster wheel problem, I don't think a hamster wheel answer gives you, peace about it. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Maybe I shouldn't.
Right. Well, I think that's the point, is the answer's going to come from insight.
Yeah.
To those kind of hamster wheel things.
Yeah. For sure.
So it's getting out of your brain enough to let it come in.
And that, somebody might say, well, that sounds really general. How do you get out of your brain? And it's not that you don't use your brain. It's not that you don't think, because so many people, like you said earlier, attracted to the Elohim material are really brainy people. And telling them not to use their brain, they go, yeah, and be loved too, right? It's more like, don't be so obsessively thinking that there's no room for new answers to come in. When I was younger, I lived, I had an apartment on this property where the owner of it was he had laundromats. That was his business. And he had a sign in his laundromat. That's where we would go to do the wash. He had a sign in the laundromat that said, "Don't overfill the washers. There has to be room for water." And this really fits this moment we're in right now. It's like, yeah, if you think so much that your washer's full of clothes and there's no room for the water, how can you expect the clothes to get clean?
Right.
I just imagine people going, if I take out a sock, does that leave room for water? I entertained myself while my clothes were going around and around in the dryer, thinking of people reading that sign and how much they took out when they saw it. I entertained myself with that. Yes, I did. But that idea of, if your washing machine is full of clothes and there's no room for water, you're not going to get the job done. And I think insight and thinking is a similar way. If you're constantly obsessively thinking the same thoughts you've thought a million times before, there's no room for a new thought in there. Right. And until there's room for a new thought, nothing's going to change. And yet people will say, I want my life to change, but they're not willing to change. You know, there's a tool. You can't have change without change. Right. And it would just be so entertaining to me. People would call for private sessions and they would say, I don't like my job, I don't like my husband, I don't like my this, I don't like my that. And Elohim would say, okay, well, let's talk about you getting a new job then. And, I couldn't get a new job. Oh, right. Short call. I'm cracking myself up today. That's a good thing.
So we have 8 minutes.
We do.
Do you want to talk about private sessions or anything like that?
Seems like a good time. I do offer private sessions with Elohim. They're extremely powerful. And during the private session, primarily what we do, sometimes people call up and just have a million questions, but 98% of the time, people call up to do what we call the core emotion. And the core emotion is a theme that's been placed into this lifetime on a soul level, and it's unique to you. You are unique in this way, and your soul and you are exploring a specific idea. And when you learn about what that specific idea is, it can be revolutionary. The feedback I get about the core emotion sessions is just out of sight. I mean, people are just like, holy moly, that was the missing piece. My whole life, that's been the missing piece. Things like that. I almost always get that feedback. Mm-hmm. Not just, wow, I liked my session, but the missing piece, kind of feedback. So, and personally, I've been working with my core emotion every day for 8 years, and I work on it every single day. I worked on it this morning. It's with you because it's put into the lifetime on a soul level. Souls don't mess around. It's in every single moment, and it asks you every single moment, are you going to look at the unhealed way you're doing it or the healed way, like the tree thing we talked about earlier. And what Elohim does is they have this series of questions they ask you to uncover your core emotion, the energetics of your core emotion, and put language on it. They describe to you what it looks like in an unhealed fashion, tell you how it's popping up in your life. This is the point in the conversation when people go, oh, wait, how'd you know that? You're so right. That's so me. That's been happening since I was a child. I've never known what to do with it. And then Elohim will talk about how you can transform that, not the opposite, but into a completely different way of experiencing it. And then it becomes like this great asset. Mm-hmm. So it's powerful work. I have openings later in the month. I'm going to put the link into the chat room right now. It's also, you can find it on my website. It's Elohim.com, Eloheim.com, and there's many links to private sessions. You've had private sessions with Elohim.
I have.
Do you remember your core emotion session?
I do. I listen to it occasionally to remind myself of what the issues are. I mean, the sessions are amazing. Just general sessions are amazing as well. They really can get to the meat of the matter very, very quickly. So it's really helpful.
The thing about Elohim, and the thing that's amazing, is they read the energetics. They literally read the energetics that are you're exuding from your body.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, I do them for people all over the world. And they just read what's going on, and they just go, oh, this is what's happening with you. And it's kind of shocking. I mean, I've been doing it for years, and it still shocks me every time how someone can be on the other side of the planet on Skype and go, the person says, well, what do you pick up from me? And they're like, well, so you're having pain in your shoulder, right? And they're like, how'd you know? How'd you know that? They just know. So they do that. And they just see where they take multiple situations and see where the energy is very similar in them, and then go, well, that's the issue then. That's the thing you want to be working on. Right. And it breaks through the buildup we have about how we've processed things, handled things, worked with things in the past. And then, the other day on our Wednesday night meeting, Elohim just had everybody come up, and 90% didn't even ask any questions. Just like, hey, what's going on with you here? What's going on with you there? We feel this from you. And people were like, It's just what they're good at. They're really super good with energetics. Really super good with energetics. That's their strength. It's crazy. I mean, I think it's a little crazy in a good way, but it's a little crazy. It's just shocking. And some people ask me, what's it like for you? And I found a good answer to that question when they're reading energetic. You know how when you're in a crowd and someone's standing like next to you, but you're not looking at them, but you can tell someone's standing close to you. You don't even have to be psychic, I think, to know someone's standing next to me. Mm-hmm. When Elohim's reading your energy, that feeling of someone standing next to me is what I feel. I don't feel every once in a while I feel a little bit of the pain, but I don't feel the pain. I don't see anything different. It's just that same sense of, it's the same texture of someone standing near me that I feel. They're the ones who know what that means. They are the ones that interpret it. But my physical body, what Veronica experiences, is just you feel like you're standing close to me. I feel like a superhero for having figured that out, because people have asked me for years, and I've never known what to say. So, ta-da, there you go. Well, everybody, we had a great time with you today talking about our books, The Choice for Consciousness, Tools for Conscious Living. We have Volume 1 and Volume 2 available on Amazon right now. You can get the paperback or the ebook. Volume 3, fingers crossed, will be out in April. That's my intention. We'll see if I stick to it. I'm working on it diligently. We also have, we have a total of 14 books out right now of various kinds, and you can see our entire catalog there on Amazon.com. I invite you again to join us for our Q&A with Elohim on Sunday. At 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific, Elohim will answer your questions as submitted by email live, and the link to that you can find at new.livestream.com/Elohim. You can join us, watch for free, submit your question. There's a charge for submitting your question. You can also join us as a subscriber. Being a subscriber means you get our meetings and other to your email automatically as soon as the events happen, which is a great way to help me have money to continue to offer this material to the world, and also to keep abreast with all the changing, exciting things that are going on around here. Yep. Well, Sue, thanks very much. It was great to spend this time with you and everybody else. We'll be back in April with another show. And if you didn't catch this entire program, it will be archived as our Fear and Money program. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
We hope you'll join Veronica and Sue again next time. Until then, visit Elohim.com. That's ELOHEIM.com to learn more about the teachings of the Council and their multitude of practical tools which support our journey out of the fear-based operating system into the consciousness-based operating system. You can also see their growing library of books at Eloheim.com/books or view videos at YouTube.com/Eloheim channel. Eloheim and Veronica, making the choice for consciousness.